If you're concerned about going in front of the camera for your video and you can't afford to hire someone to take your place, then the good news is that there are some types of videos that you don't need to feature in yourself at all. Some marketing videos, for instance, can work just as well using images that move across the page like a PowerPoint presentation with speaking or subtitles over the top. Alternatively, you might want to get creative with your video content and do something completely unique and quirky. Here are a few examples of the different types of video involved in video marketing. For your first video, it's best to choose one that's going to help you with your specific goals, but also one that's going to be relatively easy for you to create while you're still learning. A great television commercial can be incredibly effective at selling a product and increasing brand awareness, and an ad that's going to go online is no different. As we'll see later, there are plenty of uses for a video advertisement on the web, and this is a very useful tool in any video marketing strategy. The format of an advert, interestingly, can be incredibly varied. You can try to emulate a TV ad by giving your video a narrative or making it humorous with a hook. Alternatively, you can make an advert from a highlight reel of testimonials. These are short interviews. And you can add in shots of your product or service, and you can set it all to some inspiring music. Finally, an advert can be you talking about your product and why you think people should buy it. Note that the latter two options are certainly easier for beginners and are probably the recommended strategy, unless you're a particularly creative type. Another type of advertisement video that's particularly useful for use online is to create a PowerPoint presentation style slideshow with you speaking over the top. And you'll see this kind of video used regularly on landing pages selling informational products. And these are the kinds of videos that show images of spreadsheets with someone talking over the top of them about how you can be earning thousands of dollars a day selling ebooks on the Kindle. Now, the great thing about this type of video is that it's very easy to make because you can use static images. You don't even need a camera, and yet it looks professional and it's highly effective in generating conversions. Of course, it works very well too, and that's the reason so many internet marketers continue to use it. And they also have a knack for persuasive prose, or which we'll come to later. Viral videos are adverts for the digital age that take full advantage of social media and other modern technologies. Now, the idea behind a viral video is that essentially you create something that's so highly shareable that it's going to get spread around the internet naturally without you having to give it any type of marketing push, and eventually that's going to result in 1 million+ views. And you can see from the diagram here, it does sort of look like a virus, and you can see things get shared from one person to another. Now, whether or not the video goes viral is something that's ultimately going to boil down to luck, and even the funniest and most creative videos in the world are not guaranteed to go viral, if it's not seen by the right people. Now, that said, you can increase your chances of having a video go viral by making sure that it's short, and that ensures that the maximum number of people are going to watch through to the end. Self-explanatory. The title alone should say exactly what it is. It needs to be either very funny, very cute, very clever, or very creative in a very unusual way. So, something that people normally wouldn't see. And it needs to be topical. It needs to be well made, obviously. And it needs to be the kind of thing that people want to share. Of course, these are just rough guidelines, and they're certainly not set in stone. Gangnam Style was neither short nor self-explanatory, but above all else, your video shouldn't be too salesy. Anything that smacks of being a hard sell probably won't get shared. Ultimately, think about the kind of content that will prompt you to run next door and show your partner. That's the kind of response that your video needs to elicit. And if that means spending hours setting up dominoes so that they'll fall over and spell your company name out, well, so be it. That's what you have to do. Another type of video is a vlog or video series. And a vlog is a video blog, and you might call a more professional version of this a video series. In other words, it's the video equivalent of a blog post, which means you'll be posting regular videos of you talking on a subject somehow related to your industry or niche. And this is the option that certainly takes the most time and effort, but it also has perhaps the best payoff when it comes to making leads and conversions and building a relationship with your viewers. Actually, some of the most popular vlogs out there don't look all that fancy, although there's a lot going on behind the scenes in terms of lighting and post-production. One of the most popular vlogs on YouTube at the moment features a girl sitting at her dressing table talking to camera about makeup. And that's it. She just sits there and she talks to the camera and she holds up the cosmetic and describes it, and she's got, goodness knows how many hundreds of thousands of followers. Essentially, your objective with a vlog is to regularly deliver quality. Now, this can either be in the form of useful information or in the form of entertainment. And in that way, you'll hopefully gain long-term viewers who are going to subscribe to you on YouTube, follow you on Facebook, or bookmark your blog. And this will then give you the chance to demonstrate over time that you know what you're talking about and that you care about quality. So when someone eventually finds themselves needing something that you provide, they might be more likely to become a customer. And this is certainly what happens with this girl who talks about makeup. Cosmetic companies pay her vast sums of money to simply talk about their cosmetics on her vlog. And at the very least, they should sign up to your mailing list, and in so doing, they'll become a lead that you can market to. This is the essence of content marketing. Content marketing doesn't just mean written blog posts. And this is when creating things like video openers and logos can come in particularly handy. And the main challenge will be coming up with lots of unique video ideas. Now, while this option takes a lot of work, it also results in the best conversions, especially if you have a blog. Okay, now let's talk about tutorials. And a tutorial can be an instructional video relating to your industry or niche, or it can be something that specifically describes your product or service. So if you're selling a piece of software, for instance, then your tutorial might be just a screen capture of you using that software and demonstrating all of the features. And this is a type of video that's relatively easy to make, even when you don't have a camera. To make these kinds of videos, you need screen recording software, and probably the best one on the market at the moment is Camtasia, which you can get here from techsmith.com/camtasia.html. And it's very good because it comes with screen recording software and editing software all combined in one package. There is a free trial, but when that's over, it is quite expensive. So if you're looking for a free solution, probably the best one is Cam Studio, which you can download from camstudio.org. And Cam Studio is a very good screen recording software. It is just the screen recording software, though. There is no editing capability included. So you would need to purchase one of the video editing software packages that we discussed in the last video. And then there are interviews. Now, interviews can be with your clients and customers, or they can be with you and members of your team. And these have a very professional vibe and are great for B2B services, especially if you're using them to get testimonials. And there are specific ways to film interviews that will make them look more professional. For example, it's more common here to use shots from multiple angles, and the background will often tend to be something related to your business, or perhaps the interviewee in their place of work. Small captions at the bottom of the screen should state the name of the person being interviewed and their job position. And normally the questions and answers will be phrased in such a way that the question doesn't need to be heard and the answer is still self-explanatory. So if you were to ask, how long have you been using X product, their answer would not be 5 years, but rather I've been using X for 5 years now, and I'm very happy with it. So, it's just like back in high school answering complete sentences. Video marketing can work incredibly well in synergy with other marketing strategies, especially if you're throwing some kind of event. Now, in this case, you can simply use footage of that event to help promote your business. And this footage can be collected by you, or you can hire a film crew to do it. How effective it ultimately ends up being will likely be down to your editing. If you're giving any kind of talk or presentation for your business, then this will create the perfect opportunity for a marketing video. And these are particularly popular now, which is owed at least in part to the popularity of the TED Talks. What's more, being seen giving some kind of presentation will help to establish you as a thought leader and authority in your industry. If you're hoping to be hired for conferences, then this will obviously make even more sense, as it's going to demonstrate what value you can provide. And finally, there's animation. An animated video can be used as an advertisement, a tutorial, or an informative blog post. Often animations using simple colored outlines will be used, for instance, to explain what a business does or what their product does. And this is sort of used in a similar way to a slideshow, except the animation adds an extra layer of polish and professionalism on top. And they can also be extra useful if your product is difficult to explain. And these sorts of animations can be made with software like Flash, and if you do a search in Google for Flash Creator, you'll find lots of different software programs that you can use to create things in Flash. Some are free, some you have to pay for. In fact, for Flash videos, probably the best one to go for is the one by Adobe, which is probably Flash Builder 4.7 Premium, which you can get from the Adobe website. Alternatively, you can use free software like Blender, and you can get this here from blender.org. Blender, as I said, is a free open source software. It does take a short time to get your head round it all. There is a bit of a learning curve. Or you can use cartoons created on Powtoon, which is an online service you'll find here at powtoon.com. There are free and paid for versions. The free version comes branded with the Powtoon logo. When you subscribe to the premium edition, it does away with that. And it's worthwhile actually subscribing to the premium edition, because then it's not going to interfere with building your brand. And Powtoon has lots of different templates and lots of help to get you started, and it's well worth subscribing. And there are many other types of animated video that you can create as well, such as stop motion animations. And these can feature your own products moving around, or you can do whiteboard animations, which have the effect of someone drawing on a whiteboard. And you can also get creative and combine these types of videos, and this can be useful for overcoming potential limitations in very creative ways. This brings to mind the indie game industry. Now, indie games are computer games that are made by individuals or by very small teams that then go up against huge companies. And these types of games, of course, don't have the huge budgets or human resources to create photorealistic graphics. So instead, what they'll often do is they'll rely on artistic styles instead. Now, perhaps that might be a purposely retro-looking game, or it may be an artistic game that uses just two colors and silhouettes. And this stands out and looks just as beautiful as the blockbuster games, but it doesn't require anywhere near the manpower to create. You can similarly compete with bigger budget companies by injecting some creativity into your videos and by thinking of ways to overcome your shortcomings in terms of budget or expertise. Of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the many, many different types of video content you can create. There's no limit, in fact, and other options include amalgamations of all the above ideas. You can have CGI videos, you can have videos that users have submitted, you can have montages, you can have spoofs, and there's a whole lot more besides. As a general rule, though, this list should cover you for the vast majority of scenarios. And in the next video, we'll look at when to use each type.